This video was brought to you by Noble Knight Games. More about them later. Hey everybody, Kimberly here, and wow do I have a list for you, because I have to say that in 2023 I was a little underwhelmed with the games that I was playing, with the exception of one genre, which is cooperative games. I was blown away by those cooperative games, so not only do I have a top 5 cooperative games that I played in 2023, I have a top 10. Now I'm going to blaze through those, the back half, I'm going to blaze through 10 to 6 pretty fast, but I just couldn't leave them off my list because they are dynamite. And I think that any of these 10 games, you would find 1, 2, 3, maybe all 10 that work for you and your group, because there is a variety of gameplay, length, and player count that I've got in this list. So I'm going to just start right off with number 10. This one is a 2-player cooperative trick-taking game. Yes, that is a category that I didn't even know existed, and it exists. So this game is called Sail, and I got it in an all-play 4-pack that I got with a bunch of other games, but this one is wholly unique and absolutely makes my list because of that. It is replayable with a ton of different variable goals, but players are going to be sailing this ship across the seas, trying to avoid the Kraken, try to avoid obstacles, and they are going to be playing cards, but they can't communicate with each other. They're going to be playing cards, winning tricks, and then driving this ship to their goal, and hopefully you succeed in the amount of turns that it takes for that particular challenge. Again, 2-player, working together, trick-taking. I mean, really, really fun. You're making pairs of cards, just tons of fun. So Sail is the number 10 of my list. I'm going to move right on to number 9. Number 9 is SkyTeam. I got to play 3 games of this at Board Game Geek Con, and I had a great time. It was super hyped, but for a reason. This 2-player game asks players to take on the pilot and the co-pilot roles, and you are going to be rolling dice in secret and silently placing a die, and then your fellow player will play a die, then you'll play a die, then they'll play a die, and at the end of the round, hopefully you haven't crashed into any planes, you're starting to work on those flaps and you're getting the wheels down, and you're also keeping that plane just balanced right. It is a nail-biter, fantastic 15 to 20 minute game that I think was just fun. And I play with a variety of partners too. And I think every time you play the game with a different person, it really changes that dynamic, as every player plays very differently. Just a lot of fun, super thematic, love the dice rolling and placement in SkyTeam. My number 8 is Tesseract. I backed this on Kickstarter because I loved the look of this massive 64 dice cube that is the central alien artifact that players are slowly breaking down, but if it breaks all the way down to nothing and there's just the platform left, players are going to lose. And so they're working together to kind of discern what this artifact is, but there are a multitude of ways for this game to kind of explode on you, a la Pandemic style, or The Spill, which I really liken it to another wonderful cooperative game that I played last year. So this game has a lot of fun with the player abilities. There are certain cards that you can get that are really powerful, and you are trying to fill in the different dice sides, which they're really D6s, but they have a unique symbol on them. And you're getting one of every color of every 1 to 6. And you get to do that in runs or sets. And so it's just a clever system. It is a nail biter. And I really, really love that tense, is it going to happen or not, which is part of every one of those, again, Pandemic style games. So Tesseract is my number 8. My number 7 is Astro Knights. And boy, is it fun. It has the cleverest, yes, I'm going to keep that word, system that I know. It's no shuffling. You are deck building, yes, because it's Aeon's End. If you've played any Aeon's End, you're going to love Astro Knights. It is just another version of it with new guys to fight, a new, slightly different system, but very similar if you've played it. Lots of different characters to play with these kind of one-off special abilities that they get as a character, adventure, but you are fighting these baddies and all the minions that the baddies have. But as you do that, you're collecting more cards to put into your deck. But do you shuffle your deck? No, 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 you don't shuffle your deck in this game. You simply play your cards and then turn your deck over from your discard pile and then draw from there. Very clever. And then the second cool thing about this game is that you are working together, but you never know when you're going to play, and you don't know when the baddies are going to play because there's an initiative card deck. You shuffle every round to find out who is actually going to be playing. Is it player 1, player 2, baddie, player 3? Who knows? I love that initiative card draw system. So Astronauts, loads of fun, fantastic baddies, have played all of them. And would recommend every single one of them. Play easier to harder so that you get to know the system a little bit so that you kind of have those wins. Again, nail biters with Astronauts. So now I'm going to round out the back half with my number 6 pick. It just missed the top 5. Loads of fun and plays with a game that I'm pretty familiar with in many iterations. It's Crisis for Ares Expedition. This was one of 3 expansions that came out for Ares Expedition, the card game of terraforming Mars, and it allows players to work together. You are starting at the terraformed Mars. It is all done. You've got everything fixed, but now everything is going back to the start, and you have to essentially prevent disaster. It's just really clever. The way it works and how hard it is, oh my gosh, it is probably the hardest cooperative game on this list, next to one other game that is maybe as hard. It's very challenging, and that's in my top 5. Very tough game. But it is so fun because in this game you are, again, working together, and it kind of prevents that if someone gets really lucky with their card draw or they make a really great play, everybody benefits. And so you're all working together. You want to do the best you can to prevent this reversal of your terraforming efforts on Mars. And so Crisis does it. I love it. I think it's just really, really smart. So Crisis, Ares Expedition, just missed my top 5, but boy, is it a fun one to play. Noble Knight Games offers a huge selection. Over 250,000 unique products are in stock and ready for immediate shipment. They offer discounted pricing along with easy and secure checkout. I can personally vouch for their fast and friendly customer service, having taken advantage of their trade deals. They promptly replied to my emails, questions, or special requests I had about the games I wanted to sell them and how I wanted to be compensated, either in store credit or cash. All right, everybody, it is time for the top 5. These are the games that really impressed me this year and that I had a blast playing, and I bet you're going to find something here on this list that really suits your group. As I said before, there's a lot to pick from. Here we go. Number 5, it is 14 Frantic Minutes. So this game is a real-time game. You are playing 14 frantic minutes because you are going to have 7 rooms that you are going to try to work your way through as a group. And no matter how many players are in the game, you are going to have a set number of these little polyominoes. They are very different for every player, and each player gets a color. So let's say there are 3 players in the game. I'm going to get a set A, set B, set C, and then the last one, set D, everybody can use. But it's very important that you have your own set that is, again, unique, because you can only touch your color and the middle one if there is one left over. So what you're doing is you are going through these rooms as an evil genius is chasing you, and you are trying to run a circuit path from this kind of patch to a node. And you see the card, when you flip it over, you run into this room, and you're like, oh my gosh, we have to get from here and we have to draw a thing to here, and there are obstacles, and you have to place your polyominoes in this way that allows you to connect, again, from the switch to the node or the nodes that are pictured on that card. And the rooms get harder and harder, and it's just so replayable with the challenge or the difficulty. And you are going to be able to get these bonuses that you can use all the way up until the last room, which you're not allowed to use the bonuses in. So you can use those in the earlier rooms. This game is fun. You have to talk, you have to be frantic, you have to, really work with each other to revise and adjust and kind of fix what you're doing, because you rarely get it that very first time you start throwing down all the tiles. And the not touching anybody else's is very important because that means you have to communicate and say, I need you to move this piece so that I can try my piece in this space, or I want to use this piece from over here. And so it is just a lovely, lovely game that is super replayable. You can do this 3 times back to back to back, and you play it in under an hour, having a fantastic time. There is a timer app that you can use that lets you know when the evil genius is walking closer and closer towards you, because every 2 minutes, that evil genius will follow you into a room, and if they ever find you in the same room that you're in, you get caught and everybody loses. But of course you want to get to the end and complete all 7 before the evil genius walks and catches you in that last room. So, lots of fun, 14 frantic minutes, that's my number 5. Okay, let's move on to my number 4. This is Almost Innocent. I had an absolute blast. This was another Kickstarter that I backed. I mean, I was just so excited about this one because A, cooperative, yes, it's on this list. You know everything's cooperative, but it's such a boon in my household. I think over the years, my husband has just gotten more and more and more like desirous of those cooperative games over the competitive games. So this was really exciting. I love a deduction game. So this is that strategy deduction game, but you're working together. So I think it marries 2 really wonderful genres and mechanics that I just, again, think works so well. So in Almost Innocent, you are essentially accused of doing something, but you know you're innocent, and you know your fellow players are innocent too, so you're trying to essentially find the real culprit, where, when, who, how, the whodunit questions. So you've got a grid in front of you, and there are many grids, so this is super, super replayable. And you've also got cards that you have for the person to your left. And they essentially need to figure out what you know. So you are going to be hopefully feeding them clues and hints while still gaining information about what you need to know about yourself. Because again, you have the player to your left, they have the person to their left, to their left, to their left, and you go around that way. So what you do on your turn is you ask one of 2 questions. One is essentially a color base or a type of question, and the other one is a number. And so you can put one of the little investigation markers at the top of a column or on the side of a row and say, how many of my clues are in this column or row? And then that person is going to tell you that, the person to your right, because they have your information. And then the cool thing about it is they get the information back about theirs. So good. I'm like, this is so smart. Everybody gets information about their stuff, whatever it is. Whoever has the information about somebody will answer that question for that person. So when one person asks, essentially they're asking it for everybody in their own unique situation. I just love it. I think it's so cool. And so you're able to narrow down all these different categories. And by the end of the game, when you don't have any more clues left, you all have to just say, well, here's what I have. Here's the answer to mine. And you have to give the answers to yours. And everybody has to be 100% correct or you don't win. Now, if you mess up, there are tokens that say you can mess up and you can try again. It's great. It's a really nice 30-minute deduction game where you work together. And you have to be thinking about not only how do I get information about me, but how can I also offer information based on what I know? How can I give the best clue to the person who's trying to figure out the clues, right? The person I'm responsible for giving information to. Love it, and I love that there are so many different maps, so many different cards. You can add that difficulty level by giving even more cards that people have to figure out, or you can start with that beginner deck. Love, love, love. That is Almost Innocent. All right, down to my 3rd. This is my number 3 cooperative game of 2023. It is Frostpunk the board game. Now, this is one of those big games, and it has a lot of bits and a lot of pieces, and it has like that stapled rule book that's super intimidating, and I know it can be hard to get into, but I guarantee this is the kind of game, it's so well designed and it is so on the edge of your seat, nail biter if you're going to win or lose. There's so many scenarios, so many different setups, and this game is overly replayable. So it could be that game that you just play with your group again and again and again. It is just filled with theme and excitement and adventure, because what you're doing in this game is you are trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic world where you have a generator that is just barely working. It's just struggling to keep everyone heated. And you've got these concentric rings of heat and safety closer to the center, and you have to shelter people. You have to make sure that they are not overworked or taxed on their body. They might get sick, they might die, and there is just so much border of survival and not survival in this game. Because you're going to be shaping your society with laws and with decisions on building structures and with sending out people to explore past your group, your little civilization, your own little spot. And it's just, again, super replayable. It's got tons of story, tons of decision making. It kind of feels a little bit like that Choose Your Own Adventure with a lot of features. And you can just keep playing this with different scenarios. There's a storybook that goes with further future adventures and different kinds of win conditions. But you have to maintain order, but you also need to just provide. And it is hard. And your generator might explode, and that could be the end of everything. So many ways to lose and one way to win, and you just have to survive. You have to make it through Frostpunk, the board game, and when you're done, you will seriously want to play again and try a different challenge. This is a solid game. It is really cool and worth the time and effort to get into, understand, and then replayability, just top notch. All right, everybody, my number 2, I don't have a box for because I have very happily regifted this game. It is a lovely campaign game. It's called Dwarf Romantic, the board game. Now, I know I have a lot of the board games as part of my top 5, but boy, are they fun. They bring you back. They put you in this space, and in this case, in Dwarf Romantic, players are building this idyllic village. It's very peaceful, it's very calm, it's not real time, and you are not fighting for survival every day like you are in Frostpunk, so this might be more up your alley if you want that casual 1-hour tile laying game. I love the goals in this game because you start off with 3 of these objective tiles and you want a certain number of fields, or you want a certain number of rivers or railroads, forests. And once you get that, you take that objective off and you pull a new one. And you're like, well, we're going to start going for this now. And then you're placing these tiles in, building up this area. You've got little city areas, kind of Carcassonne style, where you want to group certain types together. And you're going to be scoring those objectives, but as you play game to game to game, you are going to start unlocking boxed material with new goals and new objectives and new ways to score points. You're going to keep track of your score overall, gaining a certain number of check marks or hearts that allow you to move up on this branched path. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's just a feel-good game. And the reason I essentially regifted and I don't have a copy of it right now is because we played through the whole thing. We got all the way through, unlocked every box, played 15 games, and it was one of those things where for a month, we just played the 2 of us. I love the 2-player. I suggest fewer players, but it's going to take the same amount because you flip over a tile, place it. Next person goes, flip over a tile, place it. So whether you're going back and forth or you're going around the table with more players, same amount of time. But I really had a great time. We just pulled it out every night and we're like, well, it's Dwarf Romantic time. And so we would just play and I had a great time. Again, a lovely, kind of peaceful, calm, charming kind of a game where you really do work together to create this beautiful village, but your goals are always going to be less about what your town looks like and more about how many of those objectives you accomplished and how many outside box objectives did you get. And so just a lovely, lovely thing with some nice hidden information, which I love boxes and I love, envelopes and things that I get to open. So Dwarf Romantic, the board game, is my number 2. Which leaves me with my number 1. This game is a game I am still playing, but I will very confidently say I've played 15 games or scenarios of this particular game, and it's got 21. So I feel like I've got a real good feel for it already, but it has been a pure delight. It is Campfire Chronicles Night's Fall. So, this game is for 1 to 4 players and is that tabletop role-playing game where players have a character. There are 6 wholly unique characters with their own decks, their own special abilities, their own lantern, and everything. And you have these fantastic acrylic minis, by the way. I mean, wow. So good, so much better than a gray blob. So I really do like the acrylics that you get in here. But you are going to be going on adventures with your tabletop adventurers. You're all working together, but every single scenario has a deck of cards that you open up. You have a story that starts you off, tells you where to go, gives you a choice. And then you're going to read through these cards and they're just going to tell you what to do and where to go if you make choices. They're going to have you flipping over cards for challenges. And I think that's so fascinating because every player has a unique character that has strengths. And there are 3 different kinds of skill checks that you can take. And so you might be really good in doing agility skill checks, but someone else might be stronger and they might be really good at that. But then you also have to do combat, and combat is a fantastic system with this initiative chit draw. You have a bag with all the different baddies' numbers in there, and they all activate something different every time you pull a number, so you don't know exactly what to expect. So clever. But it could be yours. It could be your adventurer, or it could be somebody else's hero or somebody else's hero. And when you draw from the bag, they get to act. You reach in, draw from the bag, they act. But there are ways to mitigate that. Maybe you get one of those fate tokens, and you can reach in and draw 4 and pick which one you want to activate just in that pinch. Love the combat system. It also uses a spiral notebook. And so, kind of like you have with Jaws of the Lion, it's so much easier to depict the location where you are and to really make that specific thing instead of adding a bunch of tiles or not having it at all and really lacking the depth and the kind of immersiveness. So the characters are wonderful. I love the adventuring. I love the exploring. I love the combat. There's also a lot of these nice treasure packs that allow you to upgrade your character and your individual deck. You can have other cards that you add that are one-time use only. I mean, it's just a clever system. I don't even have enough time to talk about how awesome this game is. I can't even talk to you enough about how beautiful this game is. The artwork is dynamite. It is beautiful. I just think it's a solid, fun, hour-long campaign. You have scenario, hour. Go to town for like maybe 10 minutes. And yes, there's going to be that town. You can heal up. You can get rid of your exhaustion. You can invest in new cards. You can hear about rumors and maybe get some side quests. I mean, it is just a lovely tabletop role-playing game in one box. This is the upgrade kit box. It is not the lid to the game because the lid to the game is actually the game board that you play on. So, again, can't say enough good things about this game. I am still wrapping it up. I will have a little bit more, hopefully later on in the beginning of the year once I finish Campfire Chronicles Night's Fall. But for me, this was and is my cooperative game of 2023. So, thanks folks for joining me for this whole list, even down to the 10 to 6. My top 5. I really hope you found something there. I think you did. Let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite cooperative game that you played in 2023? Why is it your favorite? What makes it awesome? And why should other people be playing it? Because these are some fun games. And I just really do like that cooperative nature of cooperative games. All right, I'll see you later. Bye!